They always say like leadership starts at the top. When I am coming in as an executive chef, I don't come in like guns blazing. You come in and you have a team and you have to, it's almost like in the kitchen, you have to prove yourself to them to earn their respect. You have to let your work show. I go back there, you have a conversation with them and you work next to them. You show them their skills, you're teaching. I'm a huge believer in teaching. My kitchen at Harper's, half the staff barely spoke English, but I taught them how to break down fish, chicken, steak, and it's all about leading by example. I was there to teach, I was there to develop. It's all about knowledge. I believe that when you lead a solid team, like your team is like a well-oiled machine, like you can take a step back and people know you have expectations. They come in, they work, and they learn. Like that's how I always believe in leading a great team.
So what would you tell people that want to go into being a chef? What advice would you give to them?
Chef Jordan is an executive chef known for her mastery of steak and her ability to run high-performance kitchens built on years of discipline, creativity, and real-world experience. She also stepped onto the national stage through the TV show Chopped, where her skill and creativity were put to the test under pressure.
Okay, welcome to Take the Power Back, where the objective here is to inspire Gen Z into entrepreneurship and to pursue their dreams of happiness and to change the narrative that I think goes along a lot of times with Gen Z, whereby as my generation, the old people, right, think of them as lazy or entitled or disconnected or whatever that may be. My objective by bringing people like you on, Jordan, is to inspire them to say, wow, there's a path that I could follow and pursue my dreams. So let me introduce to you you are my friend now because you are officially in my friend group. So Chef Jordan, affectionately known as the Broil Highness,
Yes.
which is maybe the coolest nickname
It is.
ever. I met Jordan. We had opened a restaurant. We're opening a restaurant, I should say, which is going to be a very high-end restaurant. Allison and I, my wife, for those of you who don't know, decided to get into the restaurant business. We've done real estate. And it was a prime piece of real estate. We purchased it, and we live in Clearwater Beach area, and there's really no real great service and experience and food place around. So there's some good stuff. There's not great stuff. There's not New York style. We're in Nashville. So I met Jordan. I went to Harper's, where she was the executive chef up until like a day ago.
Yep.
And candidly, she inspired me to go buy another restaurant. So we bought a shithole called Señoritas. And then we're going to redo this and then really use it almost as a test kitchen and to staff up and train so we can really be up and rolling once we get the other one when the doors open.
So exciting.
So exciting. So exciting. We have one goal to win a Michelin star. I really want Jordan to win a Michelin star. But I just want to watch that happen. So really, really, really super excited. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
There's the Broil Highness and there's also the Beef Queen.
Yes.
Which one do you like better?
I like them both. I think, the Broil Highness was when I was in my younger years and I was actually like cooking the broiler like every night. I was like, yeah, I could do 500 steaks by myself. And now that I've become older and more educated, like the Beef Queen, because it's like the knowledge behind the beef, like it's how you sell your experience, like being able to teach about where the cows come from, how they're fed, and like breaking the meat down. That's exciting. Like, so I like them both.
You just go with the flow.
Go with the flow.
I think it's great. Well, let's start. So tell us who Chef Jordan is, right? So just give your truth.
So my name is Jordan Arcuri. I was born and raised in Florida. Been in Nashville for about 15, 16 years. I always say cooking is in my blood. Like I was born on Thanksgiving and it's like food. I was meant to be around food. Growing up, food always brought family together. So my mom, my grandma, my grandpa, we always cook. I have pictures of me like on the counter, like no tea, learning how to chop, making recipes. Emerald was like one of my idols growing up, and I just fell in love with it, like the passion, the creativity. And the one thing is whenever there's a moment you're celebrating, a birthday, anniversary, Thanksgiving, holidays, food is what brings people together. And being able to be a part of that magic is just stuck with me. Like I think as a woman in this industry, it's a lot tougher, but I have accomplished so many things in my career that it's just, I look back on it now like little Jordan, So I'm a beach girl in Nashville, but I like Florida has a place in my heart.
Yeah. Well, we're happy that's the case because we're super excited to have you come down. Talk about your leadership style. So how do you inspire? Because, you know, cooks are hard sometimes, right? These are people sometimes that don't have your ambition, right? So how do you motivate them? How do you lead these folks to be able to provide such an amazing product?
So I did a lot of like leadership classes when I was in a part of like the first company I worked for. And they always say like leadership starts at the top. So, you know, when I am coming in as an executive chef, like I don't come in like guns blazing. You know, you come in and you have a team and you have to, it's almost like in the kitchen, you have to prove yourself to them to earn their respect.
Right.
They're not going to be so open arms to you because, you know, they're like, oh, who's this, you know, person? Like she probably doesn't know what she's doing. So you have to let your work show, you know. I go back there, you know, you have a conversation with them and you work next to them. You show them their skills. You're teaching. I'm a huge believer in teaching. You know, my kitchen at Harper's, half the staff barely spoke English, but I taught them how to break down fish, chicken, steak. That kitchen was running in like 400, 500 covers, 25-minute ticket time, which is for a steakhouse. And it's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's all about leading by example. You know, I always say this, and I think that's why, you know, my kitchen was always a well-oiled machine. Like, I'm kind, I'm positive, but I have standard. Like, people want accountability. Like, you know, some people are afraid to hold people accountable, but when you have a kitchen, like, you want structure. You know, but I'm also one of these people where I love what I do. So I'm like, I always have a smile on my face. But, like, if you come up to me in the heat of the moment and ask me something, people are like, oh, you're me. I'm direct, you know? You have to be stern. You don't want people to walk all over you. And that's how it was in the kitchen. I always had, you know, I was there to teach. I was there to develop. And those guys want to learn. Like, they come in early. They're like, chef, we want to learn how to break down this. And they're like watching me and they're like, what do you want us to do? I always tell people, and I've never worked in a kitchen where you send a message to your cooks and you say, hey, I need help on a holiday, and your whole kitchen shows up. You know, menu rollout. Everyone shows up early. They're excited. Like, they're like, oh, you know, chef, this is great. And that speaks for the rest of the staff too. Like, it's all about knowledge, you know, and I'm one of those people who I believe in teaching. And even like the food runners, they're like chef assistants. They work next to me. And I think even some of the servers were food runners before they became a server. And they're like, wow, we learned we have a higher like respect for you because of your knowledge and your passion and your care. And I think it speaks a long way. Like, I believe that when you lead a solid team, like your team it's like a well-oiled machine. Like, you can take a step back and people know you have expectations. They come in, they work, and they learn. Like, that's how I always believe in leading a great team.
Now, it's interesting because having to get to know you a little bit, you work your tail off, right? So if you're talking to somebody who has aspirations to be an executive chef and they're young, you know, what advice do you give to them? What do you say to them to be like, here's what you need to expect if you really want to be really good at it?
Well, I think the expectations, and when you go in culinary school, you think you're going to walk out and you're going to be an executive chef. And that's not really the case because you have to learn. There's so much more to learn than what they teach you in school. You know, when you're an executive chef, you wear many hats. You're a plumber, you're an electrician. Oh, the cooler's not working. Let me like defrost it. You have to learn so much. You have to be able, if you don't get an order, like, what do you do? You know?
Right.
I would say it's a lot of hours. You don't get to work. You miss a lot of holidays. You know, you have to really love what you do. For me, I think it's because I'm not one of those like pencil pusher chefs. I don't like, I do ride around, like walk around with a clipboard, but I want to be hands-on. Like, I want to be in the fire with them, you know?
Yeah.
And I know that if I'm in the fire, they're going to be like, chef, we got your back. And you have to be passionate. Like, and especially as a woman, like, you can't give up. You know, it's hard. It's long days, long hours. It's hot. You know, it's very stressful. They don't make it look so stressful on TV, but it's crazy. Like, I always say, like, in the heat of the moment, you're on a Friday night, it's like 90 degrees in the kitchen. You're like parched. People are asking you questions. And you're like, man, why did I choose this profession? But it's, you know, watching your team, like, you have one person on saute and then your person on salad goes and, you know, it's about that. When it's about you walk into the dining room and somebody's celebrating an anniversary and you see when they eat your food, their face lights up. That's what That's what it's about.
Difference.
Yeah.
Really cool. And then, so talk about how you learn. So when I think about cooking, I'm like my mom, with her, but it's a science to a lot of it, right? So, and steaks particularly, this is one of the reasons why I'm super excited to have you come down, is because nobody knows how to cook a damn steak. Yeah. It's never done right. How do you learn all of the difference in marbling and how to cook it? Because I asked you this, and it was, you know exactly, like, if it's this thick and it does this, like, how do you learn all that stuff?
It's all about, because they'll teach you in culinary school, like, basic cooking techniques. And I think it's whatever kitchen you're working in and the chefs, and you just have to learn your product. A lot of times, you get a steak in, and a ribeye and a filet aren't going to cook the same. Like, one is thicker, one is thinner. It's about the process. So you learn your temperatures. You learn when to sear, or if you're working a broiler, the heat comes from the top. If you're working a grill, the heat comes from the bottom. So there's so many different methods of cooking. You're working a wood grill, burning grill, like, you don't want your flame to be burning through the grates, or it messes up, it'll char the crap out of your,
say whatever you want,
out of your steak. So I think, and I've worked at a restaurant I worked at one restaurant that was wood burning grill. I worked at one that was a broiler. I worked at one that was a grill. And it's just learning. Like, you go in and you learn. When I was at Kane as, like, the broiler cook, that's where I learned a lot of my cooking techniques, because we sous vide all of our Wagyu fillets. So, and it affects, like, the tenderness of the steak. So you're literally cooking it under pressure at a controlled temperature, and all you're doing is searing it. So you can cut that steak with a fork. Whereas when you broil, you want to get a nice crust on the steak, and then you're cooking it to your temperature. I cook so many steaks. I don't really use thermometers anymore. I can do my finger.
You can be like, that one's perfect.
Yeah. And I used to laugh when, like, chefs would come in and use, like, cake tester. Then I'm like, you're not gonna work. Like,
you're
not gonna work.
Gonna have it, yeah.
But it's just practicing.
Yeah.
Even right now, like, sometimes even if you have two steaks that are the same, they don't cook the same, because they could be a little bit tougher than the other. So it's like a science behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So designing a menu, how do you start? Like, I just think different flavors go together. Is that something that's learned in school? Is that something that's your unique ability, right? Because not everybody, you could put 10 chefs that cook a steak, and they're not all going to taste the same, right? So where does that come from, and how do you put things together?
I think it comes with, number one, like, I remember growing, like, developing into a chef, and, you could do basic recipes. So in culinary school, you learn, like, your mother sauces, and it's like, that's like the base, right? You learn how to make, like, a bechamel and a hollandaise and, like, a red sauce, and then from that, like, you would branch off into making other sauces. So yeah. Talk about.
So you were born on Thanksgiving, right? But did you just knew you were like, I love cooking, and then, or did that? Because you said something about high school, or culinary something in high school. I don't know what that is. I don't know if a lot of people know what that is.
When I went to high school in Florida, in the culinary department, it was, you can only do it when you're junior and your senior year. But they told them, like, they're like, oh, can she do it all 4 years? Because, like, this is what she wants to do. And they're like, yeah. So I got it worked out where I did culinary all 4 years. And it was like a program in your high school called Pro Start.
Okay.
And they, like, teach you. I, like, did classes at Le Cordon Bleu. And you do little competitions. So right away, like, I have a picture that I drew when I was in, like, first or second grade. I was like, where do you see yourself in the future? And it's me as a chef saying bam. And, like,
that's unbelievable. Yeah. That is so
I have it framed. And my mom's like, see, it was, like, meant to be. Like, I did go to school, like, coming out of high school, because I was in Florida, and, like, my first job was a lifeguard. I was like, oh, I want to be a nurse. And I was like, no, I don't want to be a nurse.
No, I don't want to do that.
No, I don't want to do that.
So talk about, I've worked in kitchens as a waiter in college, and most chefs are crazy. No offense to any chef out there. How do you is that just from stress? What do you think drives, why are some people that way and you're not, right? So
usually chefs are very angry. I've worked with a lot of angry chefs. Like, you get pans thrown across your, or they throw shit, they yell, they're cursing at you, and you're like, whoa. But times have changed. People don't respond to it as good, or, and it's not something that you look for. Now, I do get angry, but I handle my stress very well. Because you have to think, like, you're busy. And I always think of it like it's like I tell my mom, I'm like, she's like, how do you do it? And I was like, just picture it. Like you have, Valentine's Day, for example, we had 1,000 covers, you're in between brunch and dinner. People are asking, where's my ticket? Where's my food? Can I sell this? I need ketchup. I need ranch. I need this. And you just want to be like,
right.
But instead, like, I just kind of like giggle and I'm like, no, that's just how I am. Like, I'm very bubbly. I don't yell. I don't scream. I think the loudest thing I do is yell for hand. You have to be like, hand. And people are like, gosh, you're loud. But I don't curse at people because people shut down. Like, and when you develop as a leader, you learn you can't talk to everybody the same. It's all about how you approach people. I've been told before, they're like, you're not approachable because if someone comes up to me, they'll be like, chef, is there milk in the béarnaise? And I'm like, what's in it? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, then go figure out and then come back to me when you know the answer.
Google.
And they're like, I don't know, chef. And I'm like,
it's an easy one to find out, right?
But I handle it pretty well, though.
Welcome to Take the Power Back. If you're a student or recent grad looking not to have a career handed to you, you're in the right place. The first and really valuable section inside Take the Power Back by joining the movement is really the inspiration that you get by watching the podcasts of young, successful entrepreneurs that have bet on themselves, that had opportunities in order to be able to take jobs with benefits or $50,000 a year salaries. But what they did is they said, I'm going to pursue something bigger in my life. Entrepreneurship, leadership development, sales, marketing, real estate. And with the amount of inspiration that you can get by actually watching other people that have had success, start to give you a vision for yourself for you to be able to achieve greater things in your life. Let's dive into it. So when I think of like the chef, you do menu development, you obviously lead the cooking. What else? Is there a lot of inventory management, cost control? Because it's really a business. So you really manage a whole section of a business that is a business in and of itself. So what is the responsibilities if people are trying to understand what that is?
So a lot of times people think a chef's job starts at like 3 p.m. I usually start my day in the restaurant at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m., sometimes earlier. Usually the restaurant, it just depends what restaurant you're at. Yeah. This one I was at, we did inventory every Monday at 6 a.m. So you come in, do your inventory, input it, check your numbers, check food costs, labor, make sure you're hitting your goals because you do have to run a business, right? And then during the week, we write schedules. It's menu development. So whenever you write a menu, it's planned out. So it's a big process because if you're changing a menu 4 times a year, you want to do it a couple months in advance and get everything finalized because you have to write your recipes, do your order guides, you have to cost everything out. You want to make sure your costs on it isn't crazy expensive or you're losing money on the dish. Do training materials and then get all that sent over, menu descriptions, get the price on the menu, and then you can change your menu. So like if I change the menu for summer, I'm done. Like I have to start thinking about what I'm doing for winter, like fall and winter. We also do orders, schedules, work the shift, managing labor in the shift as well. So, if your cover count, like whenever I write a schedule, I base it off of reservations. If you look in the future, so if you see that the reservations are high, you adjust your par of your staff. I know that if I have 400 covers, I know how many cooks I need on each station. But if we're slower, you adjust. If you're busier, you need more. And then, we do line checks every day to make sure.
What's a line check?
You walk through. So we do it with a front of house and a back of house manager, and they taste everything on the line, make sure if you're hot holding any item, making sure they're in code with your health department. And you literally do it on a piece of paper, make sure your meat is fresh. So fish, if they're chopping chives, they look correct. If they are, whatever kind of items they have on their station are good. So you walk the line, every station, check the cooler, and then you also make sure that your prep team is organized. So whatever prep you have, making sure it's consistent, it's made right. I'm in the kitchen all day with them, making sure that products come in. You also check your orders in. Then you have to do invoicing. There's a lot. It's a lot. And then you're running the shift. So
and you deal with the vendors too, right? So you're dealing with the meat wholesalers, every wholesaler.
Vendor relationships.
Vendor relationships.
Mm-hmm. And then
you built strong ones, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nashville is a big but small but small town. So I've worked with some reps for years and they're like, oh, what's up, chef? So you build really great relationships with them. And there's some reps that I would be like, and vendors I'd be like, I would not use them. And then ones that I'm like, yeah, they got your back, their product's good. If you have any issues, like they take care of you. And then you also do orders as well. And then, there's some nights where you're working during the shift. And usually a chef works I like to be, as an executive chef, like they're throughout the main part of service. Do I need to close every night? No. But I like to be there throughout the busy part to make sure the flow and the execution is good. And then we do end of shift notes. And then there's also training too. So training and development of not only your team, but the front of house as well. Making sure that they understand menu knowledge and you're giving them quizzes and they are confident with the food on the menu that you're.
And that's probably where I noticed the biggest difference is that, and I hadn't seen that in many restaurants. I've seen it in restaurants, but it's not prevalent, right? Yeah. It felt like you run from the food all the way to the table.
Yeah.
Is that sort of the way it is? And then, are those people actually managed by the front of the house, and then you're just providing coaching and leadership to them?
So the food runners were managed by the chef team.
Okay.
We made sure that they were trained by us because they handle a lot of food. They're, carving steaks table side. Yep. They are presenting the dishes to the table, so making sure they have the knowledge. Yeah. When they came in, they do have a lot of front of house responsibilities. So a couple of our veteran food runners would teach them how to mark tables, making sure that when you drop dishes, you're marking your sides with spoons. Because it's all about the steps of service, right? And I think that's where a lot of restaurants lack is, you're not marking correctly. You're not crumbing the table. Are you making sure they have forks? Are their glasses full? So there's a lot of that. We are hands-on with that too, but when I'm on Expo, I can't go out into the dining room to make sure that they're marking tables correctly. So that's where you have your front of house managers help assist with that and the training. I work very close with the managers and the team. With the servers, the only kind of training I did with them is just food knowledge. So we held classes. And then we did a pre-shift, talk about the day, how many covers we have. And then I would go over and be like, I want you to describe this dish to me. And then if they didn't do good, I'd be like, well, you're going.
I always love it when you ask somebody, do you recommend the fish? And like, well, I don't eat fish. Yeah. You can't really have that. No. It's not, oh, that's not helpful.
Yeah. It's not what about what I like or what you like. It's how do you describe that dish?
Exactly.
And a lot of people are very robotic, it's 3 ounces. I'm like, no, it needs to be, unique. And I want you to describe the dish in a way where with my eyes closed, I'm going to have a picture in my head and then I'm like, wow, that's great.
This is 6 ounces of the best prime beef you'll ever have in your life. You want them to sell that. Yeah. Right. So therefore they're get excited about it. Mm-hmm. Really cool. And then talk about, so I met your mom. Yeah. You have a great relationship. Yeah. We're going to have a lot of fun together, right? I just think they're wonderful. Was she a cook?
She was a cook in the house, yeah. So she always made us dinner, and I think that's where I grew to love it, is watching them cook, and my grandma and grandpa, we always would cook.
Family. It was all about family.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would cook Thanksgiving. That was my thing. I was since I was 10 years old, 11 years old, I was I'm cooking Thanksgiving. I'm making the pies, I'm making the stuffing, I'm doing the turkey, and then watching myself, because when you cook Thanksgiving, it's like a mess, And then as I became a professional chef, I'm like, oh, this is easy. Everything's clean, organized. I'm making hors d'oeuvres now. So that was my favorite holiday to cook, but watching myself, But my mom still cooks, not as much, but she's like, oh, you can do the cooking, but but it was cool being able to grow up and cook with her too.
Who was your biggest mentor, right? So of all the people that you've worked with, and what was it about them? What were the nuggets that you really took from that person to help you propel in your career?
So I've worked with a lot of male chefs, and it's actually pretty funny. So when I first moved over here, I applied to work at Kane, and one of the chefs, his name was Chef Bob, interviewed me, and he kind of gave me a weird vibe when we first interviewed, because he's like, oh, it was more of oh, this is a man's kitchen, there wasn't a lot of women in there. So I actually took another job, and I went back and interviewed with him probably like a year and a half later. And he remembered who I was because I had like platinum blonde hair. And
what happened?
I changed my hair. I'm a natural like dirty blonde, but I like the black, you know.
Suits.
Yeah. And I went back and I interviewed with him, and he's like, I remember you. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, you were like a woman hair. Like I said that on
You said that?
Yeah. And he, you know, he was very stern, but he pushed me. And I feel like a lot of time when you're in a kitchen, people try to hold you back. But I was like, no, like, I'm not gonna let you hold me back. Like, I'm gonna show you, like, I'm gonna be the best chef ever. He taught me a lot, you know, breaking down, because you're coming into a new, like, Cane Prime used to have like the best beef. You know, we had Australian Wagyu, like, and I've, you know, you're fresh out of culinary, like, I've never seen that before. So being able to learn that and the process of like sous vide, and I think with him, like, he was one of the best, you know, chefs that I work with. And then another guy, his name was Chef Bart. He was from Louisiana. He used to work at the Commander's Palace. He worked with me at the small restaurant called Circa, and he was a workhorse, like me. Like, he would go in. He was an older guy, and I remember we lived off of Red Bulls. That's like your thing, you know.
Just keep moving.
Yeah, your Red Bulls and candy, and he would just be in there, older guy, and just work and work and work, and he taught me so much. Like, but he was also very passionate. But he was one of the ones that was the yeller. Like, if you didn't get your order, he'd be like, what the? Like, you know, like, and he would hit the phone, like, throw the phone down. And I worked with him for like 2 years over there. And then I moved to Destin, and we like rekindled and worked together. But we always kept in touch. He taught me, like, got me all like the cool little tools that you're like, oh, an olive stuffer, like, you know, you would never think of like a little, like you put the blue cheese in, like this little like gadget. He actually passed away, and it really like hurt my heart. Like, I was at work when I found out, and because I was like, wow, like, I just was like telling my mom, like, I just talked to him like not too long ago. But I learned a lot from him too, like his passion and his drive. Like, even though he was in his like 60s, he would show up and he would be there working just as hard as a 20-year-old. Like, and he was so passionate about food, and you know, I think a lot of times when people take you under their wing, instead of trying to hold you back, he pushed me. He was like, Jordan, if you're uncomfortable, do more. He's like, don't give up, do more. And I was like, yeah, you're right, you know?
That's awesome. Yeah. That is awesome. Let's talk about beef tallow. What's your obsession with beef tallow?
I love beef tallow. Me and beef tallow are like this. I think it's a ingredient that people are afraid of.
What is it exactly? Just so the audience, I know what it is, but just so people know what it is.
You get all your beef trimmings and you render out all the fat. You can use hard fat, soft fat, anything that you're not going to eat or use. You just throw in a pot and render it out. I like to use Wagyu beef tallow and regular beef tallow. I use Wagyu beef tallow in desserts if you get a little more richer. I cook all my steaks in it. I think it's like cooking it in its beef, you know, its own fat. You know, it adds a little bit of flavor to it. It also has a higher smoke point, so it doesn't burn. I also like to put it in the fryers to fry like French fries and everything.
I bet you those are good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I just think it's an ingredient that is underused. It's a little bit healthier, and when you put it in like desserts or bread, or it adds a richness to it. Because people are like, oh, beef tallow and cookie, like, I don't want that. And I'm like, it doesn't taste like it. Just eat it. And now when I make those, people go crazy. They're like, oh my God. I put it in brownies, caramels. It's just, you just replace your butter.
Okay.
Beef tallow and yuzu are like my two ingredients.
Beef tallow and what?
Yuzu. Like,
what's yuzu?
It's like a Japanese citrus. It's like a mixture of a lemon, lime, and an orange, and it's amazing. Yuzu juice, delicious.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, but I like I said, like, I would put beef tallow in everything if I could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my objective is, I want you to win a Michelin star. So what does it take? You know, is it politics? Is it, you know, some of the stuff I'm like, what is it? Why do some places, I've eaten in Michelin star restaurants, candidly, that the food's not good. Yeah. You know, I ate one in Italy. We had a big group. Everybody was like, this is not good. Yeah. But some others, you know, I've been at that are fantastic. What does make the difference? What do you think it is?
I think sometimes it's all about like politics, you know, and putting the chef out there, the restaurant, like, But I also think it's about the experience, right? Like, well, like we talk about, like, it starts at the door. So when you're greeted by the host stand, are they communicating with you to the table? When you sit down, is your table marked? Like, they do a little thing like, oh, do I drop my napkin on the floor? Are they going to pick it up? Like, are they going to give me a new one? If I stand up, are they going to fold my napkin correctly? And all those steps of service, making sure the table's cleared, it's marked correctly, they're crumbing the table, there's no gaps in between courses. And even with the food, like, I think people, like I said, people eat with their eyes. Like, you want to... if you're doing like farm to table and you're doing, local ingredients, that's something you can win an award with. If you're like, oh, she does all this natural stuff with beef. Like, there's so many different categories on how to win a Michelin star. It's just getting your name out there, and then you have to be ready. And it can't just be like one other thing. It has to be consistent, Yeah. And I've always been super interested in like getting that, because I think it's an honor, right, to be a part of that. But it's a total package, from food to service to the execution of the whole experience. Yeah.
What do you think? You're going to go into this. We're not. I know nothing about the restaurant business. That's all I know is what I'm willing to invest in that to make it great. What do you think the biggest challenge is going to be?
I think it's going to be, establishing the recognition of like getting your name out there, like the restaurant. It's going to be new. And I think as much as people don't believe in it, like reviews, you have to have good reviews. You have to have a good reputation, good food. And I think if you get all that and then reach out to them, like, and when you know that they're coming to town or however it works, you invite them and you just blow it out of the park. But I think you have to get started and earn the reputation and have good food, good menu, good reviews, and people talk about it word of mouth. And wow, this is amazing. Like, this is, you have a wait, like it's going to be like the hot spot, and people are going to want to get in and try it out.
Yeah, that's going to be I think the fun part of this is that I know that if we put you out like and say, okay, here's Chef Jordan, your Broil Highness, chopped winner, the place is going to be full. Yeah. We just got to get ready for that first, I would think, because we don't want all of a sudden if you had 300 covers, the place would fall apart because they don't have the infrastructure yet. Yeah. So we got to build the infrastructure, get the systems down, and then go forward. What would you tell a young, inspiring, whether they're in high school or a chef, or maybe as people that I almost meeting with the people that own the restaurant. It's not doing well, right? And if you talk to him, he has a bunch of excuses. So what would you tell people that want to go into being a chef? What advice would you give to them? Or that are entrepreneurs and are trying to get to another level? How should they, what are some steps they should take?
I think, coming into it, you have to have open mind, like clear mind, right? Like success doesn't happen overnight, and neither does change, but you have to take steps. Like, I think like every restaurant I've walked into, like as an executive chef, I've had to fix, whether it's implementing systems, it's systems make a huge difference, right? From, they'll be like, well, why is your food cost off? And you can be like, well, blah, 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 blah. Like, this is why I know that my beef percentage and this and that, because you keep track of it. Yeah. As much as people think it's just about food and about being able to go in and cook, you have to understand the business and the aspect. And I think as a young culinarian or an entrepreneur, you have to expect to do both. The higher up you move into a leadership role, the more responsibilities you have. If you're a sous chef or a chef de cuisine and you're only focusing on the little, like you're focusing on menu. Like, sometimes if you have a chef de cuisine, your job is to work on the menu, focus on execution, and bring me ideas so I can sign off for menu. But I think people are afraid of failure, but how do you fix it? I always do like 30, 60, 90-day plans. Is this going to work? Like, how are we going to adjust? I mean, when I first started at Harper's, food costs was like 48%, 45%. We're down to a 38, 40. Like, with the meat market right now and the price, and you're a steakhouse where steaks are costed at 50%, it's good. Yeah. We run a labor, and they always say like business and sales hides all, but when you're slow, like how are you protecting your labor? How are you protecting your food costs? Because that's how you know when you're running a good business is when you're slow. Okay. And I think that, you know, I don't make excuses. If I mess up, I'm be like, this is where it is, because you have all the documents and you have all the numbers behind you. And I think that as a chef, like sometimes you're like, oh, all I do is cook the food, but no, like you're managing, you know, like I'm a part of a business. So.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. So what's next? So we're going on this journey together. What do you hope to see? Like if we look out 5 years together and we're looking at this experience, how do we make this thing amazing?
We have Michelin stars. We have awesome restaurants.
Yeah, lots of them.
Yeah, lots of awesome restaurants that are crushing it. Like I just want to be a part of something like that is successful and is fun, and we're putting out food because that's what I love. Like I love to cook and I love to teach, and I want to be a part of something incredible. Like I'm super excited. Like,
that's really I couldn't be at this. So well, thank you, my new friend. Right, so you're now part of our friend group. So it's not just a working relationship, but I consider you a friend. I get me very excited to have you. I've told the staff, and they're. Some of them are, you know, nervous. Some of the cooks are nervous. Yeah. I said, don't worry about it. You know, we're not getting rid of anybody. We're just gonna raise the bar. Yeah. Right. But I'm so impressed with your success and what you've done.
Thank you.
I'm glad to be part of what you're about to do. And thank you for doing this for me.
Of course. Thank you for having me.